Welcome to the 35th video in our series about Unix tools. In the last video, I ran out of time explaining solution number 5.sh, which you see repeated here. This indentation is just to center it on the screen. That's not really in the file. Let's review what happened in the previous video. I explained the first line had the hash bang to indicate the file is a shell script. I explained that the bin sh after the hash bang tells Unix the script processor to use is Bourne shell. I told you the rest of the file after the first line is used as the input to the script processor, and in this case is just some comments, these 3 lines, followed by one very long line that gets split across 3 lines of the file using these line continuation characters, the backslash. I told you that this thing represents all of the command line parameters excluding the script name. So everything you type after the name sol_5.sh will be put here. I explained that the print 0 uses nulls instead of new lines, and I said it allows you to have spaces in the file name. Actually, it allows you to have weird characters of all sorts, parentheses, brackets, all those things you're not supposed to have, but which occur a lot on Windows machines. And you need to have this -0 argument to xargs anytime you use this. I explained that the -r says if there are no matching files generated by the find, find generates an empty list, don't crash, just exit, just quit. And then I explained that this has not changed. This says that sequence, left curly brace, right curly brace, is going to contain the file name from find, and we're going to do one file at a time. We're going to take the first file and then do the rest of this. Then we're going to take the second file and do it again, and the third file and do it again, file by file. Normally xargs tries to produce a long list of file names so that you don't run whatever program you've chosen, in this case Bourne shell, so many times. But here we want to do it one at a time, and the -i has a side effect of letting us do those files one at a time. So great, that's what we know. Let's dig in and learn some more. xargs is designed to run some program on each one of the file names that find generates. In this case, we say run Bourne shell. So we're already in Bourne shell, and we're going to run another Bourne shell. And -c says don't just read from the keyboard. Instead, I'm going to send you a command. -c is for command. And this is our command, enclosed in these quotes on I'm trying to mark just the quote. There's the beginning, and there's the end. And that allows you to have some spaces in here, which we have a lot. These backticks, I already told you, when you see the backticks, that runs another shell, and you don't get a choice. It's the same shell that you were already running. So if you were running Bourne shell, that's going to run dir name in Bourne shell. If you were running corn shell, it would run dir name in corn shell. If you were running bash, it would run dir name in bash. Here we can specify the shell. Here we cannot, but we run dir name on the file, and then we run base name minus s.py, which says strip the .py extension. Give me everything, but if the end of the line is .py, remove the .py. And then here we add a uppercase py. And here's the slash in between the directory and the base name. Oh, hard to mark one character with this mouse. So why do we have all these backslash sequences like this? This is designed to allow this quote to occur inside this quote instead of being the final stop quote. So we have to backslash that. And that's why we have to do those extra backslashes. Also, the back tick, we want that to run when we run this command, not right now. So to delay the subshell so that it runs as part of this entire command, we have to put the back tick with a backslash. Otherwise, it's going to do it right now, and that's not going to work. Okay. I've explained every feature, and I've shown you your first Bourne shell program. Typing all this, even just remembering it, is tricky. This took me more time than I want to admit to debug. Actually, when you look at the solution, it looks obvious. But figuring out what you need to backslash, what you don't need to backslash, requires quite a bit of time to test and debug. So let's get back out and say, you know, Sol 5 is a silly name for this. I called it that because it was my fifth solution. I solved this problem using modern shell syntax first, and then I moved to the old style that's more portable. So what are some of these other solutions that I have? You can see I tried this one. This is one of the intermediate attempts. Oops, I used VI. This is one of the attempts I had. It works, but you could see it's even longer than our final solution and more complicated. If you look at solution 2, again, it's longer, more complicated, and this solution requires bash. It's modern shell. And the first solution I came up with, this is the easiest one to understand. So I'm going to show you this as another alternative. But this doesn't use xargs, and I was trying to highlight xargs. What this does is it does the same find that we were doing before, and instead of sending it to xargs, it sends it to a while loop. And this is shell program. And so while, do, done, do and done mark the body, in this case just one line, of the while loop. The read says get one thing from the keyboard, but we're using the pipe, so the keyboard is connected to this command. So it'll read one file name, and then it'll read the next file name, then it'll read the next file name, and for each of those, it puts it into the fname variable. And then here we have our move. I've put an echo, so we're just testing. I move from the file name, and then this is a special way to say, hey, take the file name variable, and if it has a py on the end, remove it. Very much the same job that base name minus s does, but this is built in the shell, so I don't have to run base name. And then I add the .py. So I don't have to run dir name, I don't have to run base name, I don't have to run any subshells. My quoting is easy. This is a much easier to read and understand solution, but it didn't use xargs, It didn't solve the problem that we had from the previous video. So I said sol5 is a silly name. Let's rename it to bulk rename small pi to big pi.sh. .sh says it's a shell script. You don't have to have it, but it's traditional. So if we say bulk rename pi.sh, and we say I only want it on the stuff directory, there it is. What if we look in temp? Temp has nothing. So if I said do it on temp, you notice we don't crash. That's why we had the -r. And you say, Mr. Ham, come on, I don't believe you. Believe me. But we're out of time on this video, so I can't show you what happens. Please come back for the next video, and I'll show you what happens if you have ugly file names or an empty list. Thank you for listening.